Lead together, embrace change, enhance everyone's journey. The 3 core principles of SmartStop. A leader in self-storage real estate across North America. Reinforce why we're proud to bring you SheEO Lead-In, the podcast featuring curated conversations with powerful women sharing their impactful wisdom. It's a self-knowledge, self-discovery, and self-preneurship audio storage vault created by and for women. SmartStop's presentation of SheEO Lead-In begins right now.
Today we're here with Lisa Lamb, the Qualcomm Endowed Professor and Mathematics. Oh my gosh. I do that every time on the first time.
Go ahead, anytime.
So today we're here with Lisa Lamb, Qualcomm Endowed Professor of Mathematics Education and her Sports LLC. Are you doing enough, Lisa?
It's keeping me off the streets, so it definitely takes up a lot of my time.
So talk a little bit about the 2 different roles that you play.
Yeah, so I've been a professor of mathematics education since, I like to say, the 1900s. So I started at San Diego State in 1998. I'm what they call an Aztec for life. And I have really loved that job. I'm passionate about San Diego State, and I'm passionate about students. And the students that I work with are prospective teachers and practicing teachers, and they want to learn how to teach math better, and it's really joyful. And as part of my work, I mentor students as well. And at the same time, I'm also a passionate sports fan. And so that's been a forever thing. And most recently, I'm a fan of men's and women's sports, and I can consume as much men's sports, not only being able to attend and watch events, but also reading about it is really joyful for me. And as I've gotten older, I've also watched now a lot of women's sports and have season tickets to many different women's events, and I can share that later if you like.
Yeah.
But then I would go and I'd want to be able to read the recaps and what really happened in the behind the scenes, and I didn't have access to that.
Yeah.
And so after trying in a variety of ways for a while, I finally started just writing the stories that I wanted to read, because I just really felt like there's probably others out there like me who really want to read those stories.
Isn't that how we always get involved? We see a need, we don't really like how it's being done, and then you go in, you don't reinvent the wheel, but you give it your spin, I think, which really is pretty valuable. And I think women are really good at that.
I think that's probably true.
Bringing that personal touch, our little brand,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if brand's the right word, but really, just the way you like to see things. And so let's just go back to your childhood. Do you have like a fun short story that maybe no one knows about you?
Oh, okay. Let me think. A short story no one knows.
And it could, but not necessarily, have led you to where you are today, and something about your career.
Oh boy, that's
not necessarily, but
no, but I guess there's sort of a hilarious one that I don't actually remember. But my mom likes to tell it, because apparently I was a pretty, this is definitely true, I was a pretty shy, quiet kid. But I did sports all growing up. So I did gymnastics 3 times a week. I swam on the swim team. I played tennis. If there was a very, very low level soccer. So I kind of did, if there was a sport, I was all for it. And apparently one summer there was a swim meet, and I they announce your name as you go. I don't know if you've ever swum, but you go through the heats, and they kind of line you up, and then you go. And apparently they announced my name, and I raised my arms like a bad, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but like a badass, as like a 7-year-old. And I think it shocked everyone, because that wasn't really a thing that I did.
Well, deep down it was.
I guess so.
I
guess I was like, you know what? I can take up some space here, and I'm going to do it right now. So
I love it.
So she said it shocked everyone, and they doubled over laughing. They thought that was hilarious. So, yeah. So
That's
I guess that's a
fun.
story I haven't really told before. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
So when you think about yourself, what is the word that you think describes yourself?
Yeah, I suppose one word that could come up is possibly driven. So if I, after I usually think about something for quite a long time before I might act, but once I do, I kind of put myself into that role and that position, and I move forward.
So your two careers, how long have you been doing them?
So I was actually a high school math teacher and tennis and track coach for 7 years before in Virginia and out here in California, and then earned my PhD. So I've been doing as a math educator again since the 1900s, and then but her Sports San Diego came about really in February. I launched the first newsletter. But before that, I was doing, I was part of a program actually through San Diego State called Zip Launchpad that helps startups kind of figure out who they are and what problem they're solving and then how they're going to solve the problem.
And that's a tough one because every single one is so different.
That's really true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So how do you measure success and failure? Because I feel like a lot of times the two of them are so interconnected.
Yeah, and it's funny. The very first day of Zip, as they've given me a lot of resources, so I definitely want to shout them out. But the leader came in and said, 99% of you are going to fail. Like people who want to do startups, they aren't successful, and that's actually fine. You can find out that something is for you or it's not for you. And so I thought that was fine. And success for us, and that's actually really interesting because I think, at least from my perspective, every day there's usually something really to celebrate and something that doesn't go quite well when you're in a startup and it's like drinking out of a fire hose. We're trying to figure it all out all at once. Yeah. So success is when we feel like we're telling the stories that deserve to be told, that we really get to profile athletes, we get to write the recaps. I think those are really successful days, and when we do that well, that feels very successful. Feels successful when we get new followers and new subscribers. It's successful when we're able to monetize those kinds of things. Yeah. And you also asked about failures. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a lot of those too. So when we can't quite get to the things that we want to get to, that's something. When we're, things. I always expect things to be relatively smooth, which I don't know why I expect that, but
nothing's smooth.
I know, but I keep thinking it's going to be, so I apply
I think you're wishfully thinking that it might be.
That could be it. So
yeah.
So when things aren't going quite according to plan and we're not getting the credential that we expected to get, or if we're not able to cover something, if we're not getting the sponsorship that we're hoping to get, those would be the kinds of things I think that where we don't feel quite as successful.
But don't you think with every time, and you mentioned a little bit about most entrepreneurs will fail.
Yes.
But don't they fail? I don't know. I've heard of a lot of people that are like, well, I tried this, I failed, but
yeah.
I pivoted and then I found something else that actually ended up working, and they're wildly successful. Because if you have that entrepreneurial sort of spirit,
Yes.
it's really trying new things and being able to have the courage to do that.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because that's exactly right. That's one of the other things that they talk about is failing quickly.
Yeah.
And so
and forward.
And forward, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so really, so you have a problem that you want to solve, and then you try X doesn't work, so you pivot to try Y, to try something else that's hopefully is going to be more successful. Right. I can give you a quick example of that.
Sure.
We have right now our model is to monetize through partnerships with a variety of businesses and universities, and also through paid subscribers. And so we're trying to figure out how to target subscribers who might want to pay to get the newsletters that we share. And the first idea that we tried, really we thought was actually going to be a pretty good one, and that failed. And so we're now that didn't work. It didn't convert into paid subscribers, and so now we're pivoting. Although we don't know what we're pivoting to, we just know that we failed fast.
Yeah.
And we ran some tests, which is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then you pivot. So so that's another, I guess, an area where we failed.
Well, let's
where we learned. I'm going to put it this way. We learned.
Yes.
So,
and, let's talk a little bit about I'm pivoting and we're not quite sure where.
Yeah.
But that's actually where the magic happens, when you are like, okay, we're not sure what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then you bring in all this information and then you just start figuring it out. This is what I always think. You want to be right here. Mm-hmm. You have an idea. You want to be right here. You don't always know how to get there. And sometimes you have to go, okay, I'm going to try this way. Oh, well, didn't work. And again, good thing when it's quick,
right?
Because that's less financially risky.
Yes.
And then you just start trying different things and then boom, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. I feel like you've had some startups.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so, my ex and I actually started a furniture marketing company. Huh. We started with one company. We had to keep pivoting until we found the right one. And it was one of those things where, we ended up with pretty large accounts, like Walmart, Costco, Best Buy. I mean, like big accounts. Wow. And, starting from the ground up, I remember the first time, and everybody should try this. I didn't know how to work a computer. This is back in 1997. I remember when I first turned it on and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to learn this. And I don't really have the money to go to school or the time. I had a toddler. I had to figure it all out on my own. And it was trial and error, just like you're talking about.
Sure.
And so learning how to do all those things, don't be afraid to try new things. That would be something I would definitely tell people that are thinking about. Yeah. What do I want to do? How do I find that? But then we're going to pivot now to something that's really tough, and that is balance. So balancing home and work, and especially when you're trying new things.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Well, one thing I'm very fortunate this year, I'm actually on sabbatical, so I have the whole year where I have a little bit more time to really lean into thinking about how to make Her Sports San Diego something that folks find joyful and useful, and something that they want to take part in and read. So that's one thing. The other is really nice. I think my husband really loves that I'm doing this, and he's been really supportive, and he knows that it's a passion of mine, and that so he's not surprised when I'm out and covering a story or covering a game or covering something. He's come with me because we have to let people know about Her Sports. We even use a prize wheel, so we go to games before games, and we table, and they win prizes, and they get to either sign up. You can sign up for free or join or follow us on Instagram. And he's come with me to do that. So I think part of it is just having someone who has your back, and so he definitely does, and that's been wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and the other is having a little bit of time right now to have a little bit of or a lot of space to be able to really devote to this, and so I'll have to figure out next year. I think also as I'm moving on, trying to figure out what next year is going to look like, because it is going to be interesting to try to balance everything. So,
just so you know, sometimes you are crushing it, and other times you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm failing." I
Yes.
think everyone experiences that and feels that way.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about barriers in your career and whether you think that being a female has been any part of that or contributed to that.
Yeah. And are you talking about both?
Yep.
The math.
Yep.
So I actually, what's really interesting, because I think people have experienced their, everyone has different experiences, of course, growing up. And I think I was extraordinarily fortunate when I had, I can do this.
You can do this.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
It's good to be lucky, right?
It's good to be lucky and it's good to be authentic.
There you go. So I'm going to do this. Okay. So I had two parents who just really believed in me. So so when you have a mom and a dad who just think that you can go anywhere and do anything and be anyone, you just have a leg up on everybody else. It's not something that I take for granted.
Yeah, it's confidence that's instilled in you from a young age.
Yeah, maybe that's why I did this when I was 7.
I think it was. Superwoman.
Right. But especially, and again, both my parents, but my dad was really just incredibly supportive. And he was a mathematician. That was his job title, was mathematician. So I actually felt very well supported all through school. So as a math educator and as a math major, even when I went to college, it never even struck me that that it would have been a weird space to be in. And there were plenty of women who were math majors when I was in college. So I felt very, very well supported. Very well supported in my master's program, very well supported in the doctoral program. And so I think a lot of the barriers that some women feel are not I didn't have those experiences, and I'm really grateful that I didn't. I'm not even sure I was aware of them. So if they were around me, it wasn't something that I needed to choose to let bother me or not let bother me. I just didn't have them. So that I feel incredibly grateful, because that wasn't the case I know that's not the case for people, especially my age. So what's been really interesting is the sports space is actually a little bit different.
I would think. Yeah, I would think.
So because I'm in these spaces that are typically male dominated, as a math educator, as someone who again was a math major, but in the sports space, there's of course you have women who are athletes, you have women who are coaches, and what's been interesting is to find out that the sports writers typically are men. Almost all sports writers are men.
I was actually going to make that observation because
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of a woman being a sports writer.
Yeah. And if you read a lot of the pages, I mean, there's some very famous sports writers who are women. Sally Jenkins from the Washington Post is quite famous. But in general, when we've gone to press conferences, and so our interns, we have 4 interns, three are women, one is man. And but typically when we go, everyone else in the space is a man. And so that's been an interesting space. And generally it's very welcoming, but not always. And so that's been an interesting, it's been an interesting path. And so we're especially appreciative when we're welcomed with open arms. And we really have been in many, many spaces, but not in every single one. And that's been interesting because it's something just a little different for me.
So when you say not welcome, is there resistance?
It's a little bit, well, I don't know if it's subtle. I'm used to in spaces people coming up and sort of saying hello.
Yes.
shaking my hand,
Yes.
that kind of thing, warmly saying hello. I mean, that's just probably because my background's education. I'm a teacher. It's very cordial.
Yeah.
And that really is the case in 90% of the cases. So really wonderful, welcoming, whether they're men or women who are part of the press corps that helps you in. There's just been a few cases where it's not that they're not giving credentials or not doing something. It's just they're doing exactly what their job indicates that they should do. It's just a little bit less of a feeling like you're wanted in the space, I would say, is probably the best way to put it.
Okay, so we're going to take just a quick minute for a Smart Stop.
SmartStop knows the winning connection is when we elevate success together. SmartStop Self Storage, a California company with nearly 200 properties and over 15 million square feet of rentable storage in the US and Canada, is committed to positively impacting the communities we serve on the national and local level. By aligning our core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey with local initiatives. To learn more about our core values, our locations, and career opportunities, please visit us at smartstopselfstorage.com.
So let's talk about role models and mentors, because it sounds to me like your parents were probably mentors and role models because they raised you to be a strong woman and to feel like you could do anything, which is great.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think both of them, my mom really identifies, even now she's 90, as a feminist, and she's always out marching for any cause that she really believes in. So she's really quite the force. My dad is 92, and he leads in quite a different way. He leads with joy, and he leads with kindness. He's much less likely to be out marching, but he's always going to have your back. So he's been a role model in another way, because people really gravitate towards him. And so I think that's
What a wonderful mix.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what a wonderful mix.
Yeah.
And then also the typical, I would say, men being more active in the space that your mother is, and then kind of vice versa. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that probably helped make you more well-rounded.
I think it probably did. And it was interesting to have, I think, two different kinds of role models, and to be now looking back, being aware of those, I think it's been really, really special. When I think about role models also that are not, that I don't actually know personally, I imagine, and one of the reasons that I think I really started this work was I read the book All In by Billie Jean King.
Okay.
And I had not, even though I knew about Billie Jean King growing up, and that she was, really supported women in tennis and kind of got equal pay, I hadn't really understood the toil and the work and the, it was, they didn't know what was going to happen when, the group of 9 who broke off and created their own space and that eventually resulted in equal pay at Grand Slam tournaments. But reading her story and hearing that, I just thought, we've come so far, but it feels like there's still, a ways to go with getting coverage and telling the stories for women's sports. And I felt in some ways like there needs to be people who are continuing that legacy. And I know there's a lot of people doing that, but there's a lot of different ways to do that. And I think one of the ways to do that is by telling the stories and telling the, the incredibly hard work that women athletes are doing. It's unbelievable.
Real and raw. I mean, I think those two things really make a big difference, because it isn't easy. It is not easy for women.
Right.
And it's not looked at. I mean, there are a lot of men that would be happy watching men's sports, and then they don't really care about women's sports as much. So you're going to walk into a room of women. What are some lessons learned that you would share with them that they just need to know?
That's
Be
such a good
bold.
question.
Remember, the girl with the muscles. Lisa, I'm never even going to look at you without thinking that story. I'm so glad you shared that, because really, what just comes into my head when you said that, when you told that story? Triumph. I'm going to triumph. I'm going to do this. I've got this. I imagine this
I
little
love that. I love
first
that.
grade 7-year-old ready to go.
Well, and what's funny, this is kind of off the subject, but it's actually when my husband and I were engaged, I had a picture of me like this as an adult, and I was, I don't know, on a curb, and I was doing the same thing, and my husband had that up, and I said, that picture, he's like, that's my favorite picture of you. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And so I guess circling back then, maybe don't be afraid to be strong and to let people know. It's funny because I think I'm less likely to do that. But I think one of the things I've come to as I've gotten older is that it's okay to take up space in the room, and kind of figuring out the way to navigate that. And you don't have to, you can take up space in the room in your own way. There's not just one way to do that. And I think that kind of figuring out the right path to do that is really important.
I'm glad you brought that up, because how I would put that in exactly what you're talking about. There is a way that a man comes into a room that is courageous that is very different than how a woman comes into a room courageous. We don't have to do it in the same way. In fact, it's better that we don't, because we have a more quiet, courageous way of doing it. Yeah. But we still get it done. And that's a part of be brave and courageous and take those risks and just do it. Take up the space. Yeah. Take up the space, but not in a way that a man would do it, because we still have that femininity to us that's really different, but is important. It's really important.
Absolutely.
So what are you most passionate about and proud of in your, and I would say probably in your new career, not the past one, but the new one, because I feel like that one is the one you're really focusing on, since you're in a sabbatical this year.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it's the one you're really focusing on.
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny because I was thinking about this earlier too, is the I really hope that this is a successful venture for us. The thing that I really love doing though is the actual storytelling and the writing and the sharing the recaps and creating the previews. I think that's the part that I bring passion to, and I really love. And so I'm not sure I answered your question.
No, you know what? Okay, I would love to actually. Well, no, because I asked what you're most passionate about, so I think that's. Okay. I think that you did answer it, but I would like to know. Yeah. Are you doing like video with your? Yeah. Because I think that would be because how much you love it really comes out when you're doing the storytelling actually verbally.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate that. We actually thankfully I have a co-founder, Jordan, and she's amazing. And we've developed 6 channels. And so we have a newsletter that comes out 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah. We have a robust Instagram that has a lot of storytelling in it. And we have TikTok and YouTube. And we also have, though, a podcast called The Athlete's Commute. And that is going to launch in January. And it's been super fun. And actually, that's been Jordan. And she's really good with that. So she picks up athletes, collegiate and professional athletes, and she takes them to training, to practice. Okay. And they talk about all different kinds of things, but especially about, and I think this kind of circles back to what you were talking about earlier. I think people don't realize how hard all athletes, all collegiate and pro athletes work. These are jobs, basically. I mean, this is a really intensive thing to do, especially Division I, professionally. These are not part-time gigs. And so one of her goals, I think, is to help athletes be able to tell all of the kinds of their regimens and the different kinds of things that they're doing.
It's a big commitment. And you know what? Also, I think a really important part of that would be a lot of times you get injured. How do you get through that injury? Because, it's physically, it's very grueling. I mean, my job, your job, not so physical.
No.
But having that physical part of a job is so different than what what you and I experience. I think that is a big part of the story to tell.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about what's next for you. So you've got the podcast launching in January. What else? What else?
Yeah, so we are continuing to grow all of the channels. So we hope to grow all of the channels, basically. But we're really looking to, and one of the parts of that is that we make sure that we try to do things that are going to cross connect, so we can use a profile with an athlete to help us think about what's going to happen in the athlete's commute when we pick them up, or we showcase them on Instagram and then have them and then have a longer profile in our newsletter. And so the things that are next are really trying to think about how to make this sort of really robust across again, the different channels. But then when we imagine how this is going to grow, so right now we chose San Diego as our beachhead market because this is where we live and this is where we love our teams and universities. But we do hope to be Her Sports St. Louis and Her Sports LA, Her Sports San Francisco, Her Sports DC. So we want to stay hyper local, but within all the metropolitan markets that have amazing women's sports across the country.
Well, I think you're going to do it. Again, thinking about the young girl with her muscles. I'm going to do this. I see it happening. Thank you so much, Lisa. This was a fun conversation. And you know what? I wish you all the success.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it too. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
The incredible curated SheEO conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate and a company that upholds its core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey. To learn more about SmartStop, please visit smartstopselfstorage.com.
Cloudcast Media.